All right, welcome everyone to the Kiali project version 2.13 release and Sprint 2510 demo and community meeting. So this is our 10th sprint and 10th release of the 2025 calendar year. As usual, we'll go through what we've done in this release. We'll take a little bit of a look at what's coming up in the next sprint. And then if we want to, we'll have an unrecorded community session period. The release should be going out on Monday, which is typical for us. Let's get started. So in this sprint, I'll say that we didn't have as much activity as we usually do. It is summertime, and also one of our main maintainers got married, and a lot of us went to the wedding. It was a great time. But the downside of that is maybe a little bit less activity this sprint than others, but we can still see that the main repo received most of the attention, with some other work being done in our OSSMC plugin and the Helm charts and the operator. All right, so the first thing we've got to cover in this release is an extension or additional support in Kiali for the Kubernetes Gateway API inference extension. So this is something that's gone in upstream, and going in upstream, and as such, we want to be able to handle that new config and show it in Kiali. And so with this release, if the CRDs are there and we detect config like this, we will show it currently in the list view, and then also you can look at the YAML view, as you might expect for all the different config in Kiali. And it's possible that we will actually add a little bit more before the day is out. So there might just be a little bit more robust support for this in the next release, or I should say the current release coming up. Another change that we've made is in the mesh page, which we continue to work on and try to make more robust. The mesh page, for anyone who doesn't know, is another topology view which shows your mesh infrastructure as opposed to your mesh traffic, which is the traffic graph. This one is showing your mesh infrastructure and gives you access to see basically what your Kiali is talking to, what namespaces and data plane namespaces your control planes are talking to. It can help you during revision-based upgrades to see things moving from one control plane to another, and so forth. And one thing you can do is you can click on a control plane node, like you can see in the picture here in the screenshot, and you will get configuration information, and you'll get some consumption, resource consumption metrics. That's where we made an improvement in this release. We were actually looking only at a single pod before, and we've kind of made that better. It actually now mimics the way Grafana does it in the Grafana dashboards. And it's just basically aggregating pods, so that if you actually have pod go up and down, you're not going to get a weird blip in your graph. So it's kind of a minor improvement, but it helps make sense of what you're actually looking at. And that is actually the two main things that we've done in this sprint. We also have some other work that's going on that didn't come into this sprint, which I'll talk about in a moment. But a couple other notable changes. So we have a pretty good internationalization for Kiali. Not every page has the support yet. We're working towards that. But we do have a partial Spanish localization now for the pages that are supported, which are many of the pages. And I believe we've also got a Chinese. So if you're interested in adding to our localizations, please let us know. We'd love to have more languages supported. Another small improvement to the mesh page, where I mentioned we show config for all the different things that you can click on in the mesh. Like if you're looking at Prometheus, you'll see that config. If you're looking at Kiali, you'll see that config. We had a variety of formats for that config, and now we've basically consolidated them into a single consistent YAML format from side panel to side panel. And we made some improvements in our testing infrastructure as well to help with debugging. If you happen to be running the Cypress tests, this could be helpful for you. And a couple of bug fixes. Again, on the mesh page, we had a glitch with the number of data planes. The count was off. That's been fixed. And we hunted down some more flaky tests. And actually, we've had some pretty nice CI runs recently. That is the entirety of what we've got going on for this release. But it's not the entirety of what we've been doing for the whole sprint, because we have some more longer running things going on. For the epics in progress, and by the way, you can always look at our project board in GitHub with the link here that will show you what we're doing and what's coming up. This screenshot shows a couple of the columns that I wanted to point out, and some of the epics in progress. There's two that I circled in green because those are likely going to show up in the next release, so next 3 weeks from now. One is external Kiali support. This is a big one that's been going for many sprints. It's the ability to support a new deployment model in Kiali, such that Kiali can be deployed on its own, we'll call it a management cluster away from the mesh, so that resources for your, it's basically a move towards keeping observability resource consumption away from your mesh resource consumption, right? So you don't want to necessarily have to use resources that are running your production apps, or you want to minimize the resources used for observability in that case. So this is a new deployment model that we're going to support coming up soon. Another one coming up is we are going to provide a schema for our Kiali CRD. This is something that's been a long time ask that we're finally able to get around to. So for people that are interested in making sure that their Kiali CRs are actually valid, this should be hopefully a help. Also, I believe coming in the next sprint. And then in orange, because I'm not exactly sure when it's going to make it to the light of day, I wanted to point out that we've got kind of another deployment mode for running Kiali locally, and we'll be covering more of that in the future. A couple of other things like that going on as well as we look to provide better ways of running Kiali, both from a resource perspective and a troubleshooting perspective and so forth. And that is all for today. Thank you very much. We always invite you to ask us questions on Upstream Istio Slack in the Kiali channel, or in GitHub if you want to start discussions there too. Thank you very much.